Hello, everyone. Welcome to Duck Takes. I'm your host, Blake. As always, with me, my co-host, Garrett.
What's up, guys?
First time we're using that intro on the podcast.
Yeah, and he is also co-host Blake now. This is Duck Takes, not Blake's Takes. We're co-hosts here. We're both co-captains. We're both co-managers, you know?
Co-managers, Jim and Michael.
Yep, not manager and co-manager. It's co-manager and co-manager.
I don't like that.
Well, you better get used to it, buddy, because that's how it is.
Co-host? I'm co-host?
You're co-host.
I started this shit.
That's
brick by brick. I built this shit. Me, brick by brick. And I'll be damned.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the rest of that line.
Damn, that's weird. So yeah, if you haven't heard yet, or if you haven't seen TikTok or Instagram post, clearly you've seen though that the podcast cover has changed. Yes, we did rebrand from Blake's Takes with co-host Garrett to Duck Takes. A little backstory behind that too is our last name is Duckworth, and we wanted something that was going to include the both of us for this new name, and that we can have it a logo that was going to be a
little more fun, a little more creative.
Yeah, and that you could just be excited to wear on a shirt or a hat, that we want to get merch going as well.
Yeah, we've been wanting to rebrand for a little bit, and we just couldn't really decide on anything to go with, though. And then our cousin actually sent us a GIF of the DuckTales cartoon.
Because we knew we wanted ducks to be involved.
Yes, because that's our last name, and it encompasses both of us, so it works out good. And so if you look at the style of the logo and where it says Duck Takes, it is a play on DuckTales.
Yes. And we had our boy Drew cook up some logos for us. It was a fun process, a lot more creative process than what we were trying to come up with a logo for Blake's Takes with co-host Garrett. It just was not working out.
Yeah, it's like you can only do so much with that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad we finally did it.
And merch coming soon.
Yeah, we want to have
working on that next.
Yep. Patreon. We already got a Patreon episode out for y'all right now. By the time you're hearing this, probably have another Patreon episode out. Just want to be able to get bonus content out for y'all. We have our Tarantino ranking up as our very first Patreon episode. And that's what we want to do with the Patreon as well, is to have more content that really is more personal to us. You know, with TikTok and everything, you definitely got to stay relevant with what's coming out, you know? So with the Patreon, we definitely are going to be posting a lot more of our personal favorites, personal rankings, like, you know, just some stuff that is more personal to us.
Yeah. And also, not to mention, you know, if you join the Patreon, you get access to our Discord as well. And please let us know any ideas of anything you guys want us to do. And, you know, if we like it, we can put it on there for you.
Mm-hmm. So with this rebrand, we figured we'd get some new segments going, some recurring segments for these podcast episodes. I know one thing that I do want to do is like have a recommendation of the week from each of us. And then we also want to give a ugly duckling of the week, which essentially is going to be a movie or maybe even TV show that we think is underrated, maybe didn't get great reception at the time or didn't have good box office numbers, just essentially didn't get the appreciation that it might have deserved when it first came out.
But has gained a following over the years. Yeah.
Or not even necessarily has to.
Yeah.
Gain a following for our liking. All right, so let's do recommendation of the week. What do you got?
I just rewatched this recently, actually. My recommendation for the week is going to be The Help.
The Help, okay.
Bro, if you have not seen The Help, that is a heartfelt movie right there.
Is that the one with Emma Stone?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, Emma Stone, Viola Davis, Octavia Spencer, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Jessica Chastain is in there as well.
Okay.
So this is a civil rights movie, and it focuses mainly on the servants working in like rich white family homes. And basically the whole plot of this entire movie is getting the stories from these maids and seeing what their life is like. And this is like the first time that these people have ever even been asked, like, you know, what is it like to be you? What they were doing was very risky and could very easily get them in trouble. Maybe not even with the law, but also, you know, with the citizens of the town, because obviously this type of behavior was frowned upon heavily. A lot of scandalous things going on, lots of satisfying moments of revenge. Doesn't have the happiest ending, but it is a satisfying one. Dude, there was there's so many sweet moments in there. Like even with all the racism that is surrounded in Jackson, Mississippi, which is where this takes place. Like there is some very sweet moments between black and white people, which like kind of shows you like it is possible and that love does exist. It's just like the society around them that makes them think it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, wonderful performances. That's my
Yeah,
recommendation.
I've always heard good things about that movie. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen The Help?
No.
Interesting. First time I watched that with mom.
Really?
Yep.
All right. My recommendation of the week is Her, 2013 movie, which, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have already seen Her, but for some reason, have you seen Her?
No.
No?
Mm.
I hadn't seen Her. I don't know. Taking place in a not so distant future, Theodore, played by Joaquin Phoenix, a lonely writer, purchases a newly developed operating system designed to meet the user's every needs. To Theodore's surprise, a romantic relationship develops between him and his operating system. This unconventional love story blends science fiction, romance, and a sweet tale that explores the nature of love and the ways that technology isolates and connects us all. And as you all know, the operating system is voiced by Scarlett Johansson.
Mhm.
And yeah, if Scarlett Johansson was whispering in our ear, I'm sure we'd fold too.
I don't know, man. It's a phone.
I don't know. If you watch the movie, you tell me. But it's also starring Amy Adams, Chris Pratt, Olivia Wilde, Bill Hader as one of the voices, Kristen Wiig as one of the voices as well of the operating systems. And it is definitely a very interesting movie. Like the world they create, I think is very interesting. It's yeah, like they said, it's a near distant future, but it still has a very retro feel to it in some of the designs and the color schemes in the movie.
Interesting.
The color palette's beautiful. Cinematographer is Hoyt van Hoytema, which you all know he's the cinematographer of Nope, Interstellar, Oppenheimer, Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan's go-to cinematographer. So you know it just absolutely looks beautiful. And I'm not like the biggest Joaquin Phoenix stan, but
No, I'm not either.
No, but I do.
Honestly, I think why is because I know like outside of film, he's like a very weird guy.
He is a weird guy. But I really did enjoy this performance. I think from what I've seen, I haven't seen every Joaquin Phoenix film. This is definitely one of my favorite performances by him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just a very melodramatic, interesting story that I don't know. I didn't think I would be interested in until I sat down and watched it. Like it's definitely an interesting story.
That I'd say it's like the same case for me where I've heard,
Yeah.
I've always heard about this movie. I've heard good things about it.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a very weird plot.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yes.
I don't need to see that.
Yes. And there's definitely some uncomfortable moments as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting concept with how the connection of love between human beings and AI, you know, especially now, I feel like 10 years later, this story is kind of even more.
It could totally be real.
Right, exactly. This story, I feel like, is definitely more prevalent than it would have been 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my recommendation of the week. Now, Ugly Duckling of the Week. So like we said earlier, a movie that we think is underrated. Maybe didn't get the praise it got.
Yeah, no, it like didn't get good reception. Dude, we agreed.
All right.
It didn't get good reception when it first came out.
When it first came out.
Has started to get some love over the years, or even something that we just like.
Cult following, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, go then. You got yours?
Yeah.
What is it?
I mean, like, I hope I'm not stealing it. This one's kind of a basic one.
Okay.
But Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Okay.
That's my go-to.
That bombed at the box office.
It did bomb. It bombed horribly at the box office, but over the years has really gained a cult following, built up its DVD sales. You have a hilarious asshole performance from Chris Evans. Honestly, there was a lot of notable actors in this movie that you wouldn't really expect.
Chris Pratt was in Her. Did I mention that as well?
No.
Yeah, he was in Her.
Oh my God. But yeah, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. You get great music out of this movie.
No, you're talking about Chris Evans.
I said Chris Evans.
Oh, I thought you said Chris Pratt. That's why I said maybe it was the Chris's that made me think that.
I said Chris Evans.
Okay, yeah, he's fucking hilarious in Scott Pilgrim.
But yeah, you get some great music out of this, original music out of this movie as well. It's very dramatized. It's very dramatized with the fight scenes. Like it seems like it's almost out of like an anime. It's kind of cool.
Or like straight out of one of those Mortal Kombat video games.
Yeah. And there are a lot of scenes from it that I think people have watched before on other media like Instagram or TikTok, but they don't realize it's from Scott Pilgrim.
Right.
Like the scene when the girlfriend was at the door saying, "Is Scott home?"
Yeah.
You know what? He just left as he jumps out the window. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people know that scene, but they don't know where it's from.
Well, I hear Scott Pilgrim sound bites thrown in a lot of Kid Cudi songs as well. There's some sound bites, I think, in Man on the Moon 2 and then Man on the Moon 3. The line when he's like, Scott, don't give him the satisfaction. What if I want the satisfaction? It's definitely a film that has gained a huge cult following.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
That one. That got popular for a while.
That's one of my favorite Chris Evans roles. That's one of my favorite roles.
So yeah, a lot of memorable moments from that movie, and I feel like people just need to go watch it, and they'll be like, "Oh shit, I know that. Oh, I know that. Oh, I know that."
These days, a lot of people do love that movie.
Yeah.
All right,
it has gained a lot more of a following recently, but
all right, my ugly duckling of the week. We kind of talked about it on a recent podcast episode, but The Good Dinosaur. Did it?
The Good Dinosaur, has that gained any good following? Or
no, but it's my ugly duckling. It's an underrated one. It didn't get good reception when it came out. It didn't do that well at the box office.
Okay.
A lot of people don't have it high on their Pixar ranking. We saw our friend Snowden had it in dead last for his Pixar ranking. But I have seen some of my Letterboxd friends be on the side to praise The Good Dinosaur. Not necessarily praise, but lift it up.
Yeah.
Lift it up.
Not hate on it.
Right, not hate on it. I think The Good Dinosaur is an underrated Pixar movie. I think the character Arlo was a very cute character. I will say, I think the animation of the landscape is kind of weird. It's a little too realistic for me, which kind of takes me out of the world that they're trying to create. And at times it does feel like a short story turned into a feature film. But I think it's a cute story. It's almost like a coming of age movie with this little dinosaur and his human partner. It's an interesting concept. It's what if the meteor that killed all the dinosaurs missed Earth? How would they integrate living with each other? And while it doesn't adapt it to its full potential, it does make it into a Western. But I'm kind of a sucker for like Western feels and music.
Can we talk about the scientific fact that if the meteor did miss Earth, human life would never develop?
Yeah,
we would be dead.
Probably a good point.
There would be no reason for us to develop because dinosaurs are still ruling the world. So,
but anyways, I think I think it's a cute movie. I think it's an underrated Pixar movie.
All right,
let's get down to business, though. And
the wise words of Eminem.
Let's get down to business. I don't got no time to play around. What is this? Must be a circus in town. We're shutting the shit down. All these clowns. Some lyrics just come to you.
Okay.
All right. Let's get down to business. Today's movie that we are reviewing is Maxine, the third installment in the Ty West X horror trilogy. Rumors have it that he might develop a fourth one, actually, depending on the reception and how well Maxine does. But this was my most anticipated movie of 2024, actually.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch my top 10 most anticipated movies, TikTok of 2024, Maxine was number one, which I know a lot of people were shocked about.
Did it live up to your expectations?
You started out like that?
I mean, yeah, why not?
Okay, so clearly my expectations were very high.
Yeah, because I know you loved X, you loved Pearl, and you said you enjoyed X more after watching Pearl.
Correct, that I did. So, okay. Did it live up to my expectations? No, it did not. We'll get more into that. I really do love X and Pearl. X and Pearl have become some of my personal favorite horror movies within the last decade. I thought X was just right up my alley with what I like in a horror movie. It paid a lot of homage to the slasher genre. It clearly was a play on, a Texas Chainsaw, with it taking place in a rural Texas area, on a farm, hot as hell during the summer. And it's this group of kids trying to make a porno. And you have Mia Goth starring in it, Jenna Ortega, Kid Cudi. I just really enjoyed the characters in X. And you had good music choices in there as well. Again, with paying homage to the past slashers with Don't Fear the Reaper, which is an homage to Halloween, which is very famous for playing Don't Fear the Reaper. And the practical effects, which were just fantastic in X. X and Pearl only had a budget of $1 million.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, both of them. Only $1 million budget for each of them, A24 movies. And they did pretty well at the box office. I think Pearl might have done better. Pearl made around $15 million at the box office, and they had good critical reception.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of anticipation for Maxine to live up to the hype.
Did Maxine get a bigger budget, or was it around the same?
Oh, no, Maxine definitely got a bigger budget, 100%. You can even tell just from the cast of Maxine. What did you like more, X or Pearl?
I think I genuinely I think I enjoy Pearl as a film more. But if I was like to talk about it from a horror movie aspect, I
Okay.
would say X.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
In a way.
Because like I feel, well, for one, yes, like X does a great job with that slasher genre part of horror, which is why I enjoy X a lot more. I thought the kills were better. But Pearl, I just thought was a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
Especially that our psycho is our main character. I always love when they do that.
It's a character study.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I think I still am a bigger fan of X, but after rewatching Pearl, I'm like, oh, it's closer now.
Yeah.
It's closer now because Mia Goth is
I know. I was about to say her performance is just what absolutely makes it.
Insane.
It's so good.
She's spectacular.
Dude, and we saw that immediately in the beginning of Maxine, where I was like, damn, like back at it with the crazy acting. Like she can just turn that switch on a dime and it's fucking crazy. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. Like the end scene of Pearl where she is just staring into the camera, like with the creepiest smile you've ever seen and crying her eyes out. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, as the credits roll, it's insane. Yeah, Pearl, what I loved about Pearl was just this Technicolor Wizard of Oz horror story.
Yes.
Taking place on the same farm.
I love the setting, even though it's the same farm.
But it feels very different.
It feels so much different.
Taking place in 1918. So about what's that? 60 years before X takes place? Because X takes place in 1979.
Yeah.
And it is the prequel to X. It came out in theaters after X. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting, different feeling movie than X. I'm not sure if Mia Goth had help writing with X and Pearl, but she did help write Pearl. Starring Superman, our newest Superman.
David Cornsweet.
David Cornsweet is a side character in Pearl.
I felt so bad for his character, bro.
Oh, man.
That meant, like, dude, honestly, he was like just being nice to this girl.
Yeah.
And he was like, she's pretty, so they, slept together, whatever. And but boy, did he learn real quick how weird she was.
To be honest, I don't know which kills I liked more from X or Pearl. There's more
in X, yes.
But I don't know. The ones in Pearl are pretty good too.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Dude, the pitchfork to David Cornsweet's chest. Oh my
That's what I'm saying, man. So the practical effects in this horror trilogy, I think, is what's really captured a lot of horror fans about this X trilogy as well. It is the use of practical effects, which I think in a horror movie is definitely the way to go.
And definitely comes off as nostalgic to a lot of people as well.
Right. Because that's how a lot of those classic horror movies were, is they really got creative and had fantastic practical effects.
They had no choice. That's all they could do with their budget.
Yeah. And they look fantastic. Practical effects, 1000%, freak me out more than CGI kills.
Yeah.
I think the music is also something that's been a highlight between X and Pearl, composed by Tyler Bates, who actually is also the composer of the Guardian of the Galaxy movies, if you didn't know. And yeah, it's just very impressive just how different each of these movies feel, even though we have some of the same characters, same actors,
yeah,
like almost same everything, but it's just impressive how different these movies feel.
Honestly, with the same actors and everything, I always kind of thought they were gonna like address that and
Really?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was an explanation as to why Maxine looks exactly like Pearl.
Right.
Like, is that her great grandmother or something, or her grandmother or whatever? I don't know. I thought there was going to be like some kind of connection.
Like a twist.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there might have been like a missed opportunity there, because I feel like that would have been cool.
That's interesting. And then I think
and they both have like that inner desire to be a star.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I feel like there was just too many similarities between these two characters that you didn't show how to relate them at all.
I think there's a lot of different ways that these movies could have went. Not saying that's how they should have went, because I love both of these movies, but I think with Maxine in particular, which we'll get into now, I think there were some missed opportunities for sure. Okay, so let's talk about Maxine. Starring, as we said, Mia Goth. She reprises her role as Maxine Minks. Kevin Bacon as John Labatt, this PI detective. Halsey, who plays one of Maxine's friends. Elizabeth Debicki, who plays Elizabeth Bender, a producer in this movie, which I really enjoyed her performance.
Same.
Moses Sumney, who plays Leon, the video store employee who's a friend. He's a musician, which I didn't realize. I found that out today. I liked him in this movie. Lily Collins as Molly Bennett, who plays an actress in this film, the star of the Puritan. And Giancarlo Esposito, we all know who he is.
Yeah.
He plays Teddy Knight, who is Maxine's agent
/ lawyer.
And the premise of Maxine, taking place in 1985, so 6 years after X, an adult film star and aspiring actress Maxine Minks finally gets her big break, but as a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. So I was really excited for Maxine, not only because this was going to be a follow-up to X, and it was going to be director Ty West again, starring Mia Goth, who has just become one of my favorite actresses in Hollywood. But when I heard the news that Ty West said it would be paying a lot of homage to the giallo genre of horror, which is my personally one of my favorites. Genre of horror, which is a subgenre in Italian horror that includes elements of slasher, psychological horror, psychological thriller, sexploitation, and sometimes supernatural elements.
Mm-hmm.
And that is definitely a part of horror that has really opened up my mind to the horror genre. One of my favorite films of all time is Suspiria. Another one that I really love is Deep Red. And you know, it's a trend here. One of my favorite horror directors is Dario Argento, who is known for his giallo films. And that is personally why I was very excited for Maxine, because in a giallo film, man, the production design goes so hard. The music is amazing. I love the mystery thriller aspect to it, finding out who this killer is.
Yeah.
While there's definitely elements that pay homage to this in Maxine, in the end, I don't think it had enough payoff in the end.
It was not satisfying enough for me.
Right. So what are some things that you did like about Maxine?
Honestly, a lot of my favorite scenes were between Maxine and the director on that movie. I liked hearing her give advice to her about the film industry and everything. Mia Goth's acting performance as well. Like I said, right in the beginning, they could just get right to it, like displaying her ability to do that.
When she was auditioning
yeah,
for that
when
role?
she was auditioning for the role. And I thought it was hilarious how they were like, can you show us your tits?
Oh, yeah.
And she was just like, yeah. I don't know. I thought that was hilarious because she was a porn star.
She was a porn star. She's auditioning for a horror movie.
Yeah.
And it's 1980s Hollywood.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure that was just like very standard. I thought that part was funny.
Uh-huh.
Also, her relationship with Kevin Bacon's character. I loved her badassness when he kept following her.
Uh-huh.
Immediate reaction. He was tailing her in the car. Her immediate reaction is get out of the car, got my keys ready to go, and just beats the absolute shit out of him in his own car.
I did like Kevin Bacon in this movie. I don't think his character was maybe used to his full potential.
No, it wasn't.
But I did enjoy his performance.
I enjoyed his performance.
And everything.
It was a very different character that I'm used to seeing Kevin Bacon in, which is why I think I liked it a lot.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, what'd you like about it?
Some things that I enjoyed actually were the kills. I don't know if you enjoyed the kills.
I mean, like they didn't stick out to me as much. Like I feel like we've been spoiled with very creative stuff. I feel like this one definitely depends more on like the camera angles and never revealing the face of this killer.
Yes. Okay, let me ask you this. Is that why the kills felt a little odd to you? Was because of the way they were shot?
Maybe. It was just like what he did that seemed like very basic, like, I mean, all he did was, especially when I'm thinking of the store clerk and her friend, the store clerk.
That's the one I really enjoyed.
You really enjoyed that. I thought like the slash on the eye, that one was like, I was like, oh shit. But pretty much everything else, I was like.
The reason I really enjoyed that was because that kill, you can easily see the homage that it paid to the giallo genre.
Yeah, and this is your field of study, basically. Like, obviously, you're the one who's going to appreciate that more.
Yeah, with the way the blood spatter happened, the blood being very bright red, which is very giallo. The camera shots during the kills as well. So I did enjoy the kills in this movie. Obviously, I enjoyed Mia Goth's performance. I liked
I'm curious where she's going to go. After this
trilogy?
Yeah.
I'm sure she's supposed to be in Blade.
Oh shit.
in Marvel's Blade movie.
Well, if they could fucking figure that out.
Yeah, but that project's never seeing the light of day right now.
Yeah.
Jesus. She should save herself from that project. I did really like the aesthetics of this movie. I feel like I always love a Hollywood movie that takes place back in like the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
Which is, 60s. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I really enjoyed because it takes place in 1969 Hollywood.
I feel like you like that because that was like the birth of the film industry, basically.
Well, yeah, and you really seen the birth of like the horror genre in this movie as well.
Yeah, because this is a time when horror movies were very criticized. And considered satanic.
Yes,
Hollywood is trying to lure your children.
Yes, which is a very heavy theme in this movie.
I did like that part a lot about this movie. Was that kind of like history around the filmmaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Because during this time, you had the slashers coming out, and then during the 80s, they were really starting to get gory. And then they, a lot of B horror movies. They were starting to play around a lot with different horror movies. So yeah, a lot of people were not on the side of horror movies during this time in Hollywood. I do love seeing the history of the horror films, and this was also during a time when even pornography was very early in its stages of. Now they're making DVDs of porno. In order to see a porno, you had to go to a theater.
Yeah.
And see it back in like the 60s or 70s. And now we're seeing like the birth of pornos made to DVD, which really blew up when that happened. Or not DVD, but like VHS.
Yeah, VHS.
Whatever, my bad. And it's interesting to see how that comes into play with this movie as well. And porn actresses trying to get into the film industry. And as we saw Elizabeth Debicki's character say how she had to stick her neck out for Maxine because she was a porn star.
Yeah.
Going to be starring in this horror film.
So yeah, it was kind of like double jeopody with her. You have a porn actress starring in a horror film. So it was for those people that are, shouting Hollywood satanic and all this. They had like every right to, or like they had two reasons to do it for this one.
So I think the themes in this movie were honestly fantastic, but just weren't grasped to their full potential in the end. Like I really think it's the third act in this movie
the third act kills it. It does kill it.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like they could have gone a lot creepier.
So yeah,
you know what I mean? I feel like it was too. The ending was like too clean to me.
Yeah, and I want to get into that once we get to the dislikes. Some more likes I do enjoy is Giancarlo Esposito. I don't think there's anything you dislike about him.
I did like his character. And I thought it was very funny how casual it was to him, where like once he heard about this whole situation, he just like kicked it right into gear. He was like, well, guess we're murdering people. Like what?
I thought the music was good too. I enjoyed the music in this one. So yeah, there's a lot of good elements there.
There is. It's like they just kind of face planted at the finish line.
Yeah. So all right, let's get into the dislikes.
So the reveal of our killer is like the one that definitely sticks out the most. I don't know. Honestly, even how they revealed it, I feel like could have gone better.
I thought it was weak.
Yeah. I was like, there was no like dramatic presentation. No. It was just like, hey.
Yeah.
I was like, right. I was like, okay. And I'm like, and you are.
Yeah. Did you see it coming that it was going to be her dad as the Night Stalker?
No. I mean, actually, yeah. Especially like that whole thing at the beginning of the movie with the, her recording saying, I'm not going to accept a life I don't deserve or whatever. And we hadn't heard anything else from that since the beginning of the movie. So I was like, that's they put that in there for a reason. It's going to come back.
And if you remember from X, the preacher that they're playing on the TV is Maxine's dad. And at the end of X, you see the reveal of like, I lost my daughter Maxine to the porn industry, whatever.
Yeah.
To the devil. So I thought that was just going to be more of a theme that was going to be played with. I didn't think they were going to actually include her dad.
In the movie.
Because I'm like, I
feel like that would have worked better as just like her backstory as to why she got into porn, or like how she strayed away from that and got into porn.
Right. Because religion is a heavy theme in all of these movies.
Yeah.
With trying to push religion on people.
Yes. And the victims of the Night Stalker, if they would have a satanic, the star, I forget what the star is called, but the satanic star branded on their face or wherever.
Mm-hmm. A big diss. I think it just really fell flat in the final act.
And even her co-star, the lead of the movie that she was shooting, the reveal of her being dead, it was kind of goofy.
Yeah,
it was kind of goofy. Like you just see
that.
You just see her chopped up body that was in a suitcase. Like she kicks it down the stairs, and then you see it fall out. I was like, okay,
yeah. Let's get into the specifics of the story. Part of the story is that Maxine's friends, or colleagues, whoever she works with, are getting invited to this producer's house, mansion house in the hills,
up in the hills,
in the hills, where you have to take a gondola to go up there, and they're getting invited to this producer's mansion for a party and hoping to rise to the top in Hollywood, because back then, there's like one narrow way for a female to make it to the very top in that industry. And my question is, how does Maxine's dad, this like preacher, get this mansion in the hills and is able to...
Well, I mean, if he was on TV, he must be like a successful preacher. I mean, if anything, at the very least, he could like rent the house out.
Or do you think it was kind of like a Charles Manson thing where he got this cult together who was able to...
Well, like they pooled their money or whatever.
Right,
yeah. I mean, it's possible.
I don't know. I just thought it was a very weird...
He definitely developed a cult following.
Right. But I thought it was a weird way to have Maxine's dad integrate himself as like the killer and able to lure these colleagues of Maxine.
Yeah. And like my question was, why now?
Right.
Like, why now are you doing this? When you've clearly had you've clearly been a religious man your whole life. You've been bothered by the fact that your daughter strayed away from the church and got into this industry.
Mm-hmm.
Why now are you doing this? What changed? Because it seems like he's always been the same preacher man and hasn't really changed at all. So I was just curious, like, what was happening that made him come out? Like
he said this was the only way to get her attention. So now her being in Hollywood, do you think?
Yeah, I was saying like maybe he heard that she got onto a movie, but we see the killings happen
before she got that audition.
Before she got there,
yes. But she had been in Hollywood for a minute at that point.
Yeah.
Doing porn.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like the only way to get her attention, I'm like, dude, you probably could have like sent her an invitation and tricked her to get up there if she was like the first person that you sent it to. Instead of killing half the city.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just like seemed like a very convoluted plot to get Maxine up to that building.
Mm-hmm. So I wasn't, even though it may have seemed pretty obvious that it was her dad, to be honest, I didn't see it coming because, again, this ties into Ty West saying that it was going to pay homage to the giallo genre. One thing that genre likes to do, especially Dario Argento, is have the reveal be a female killer.
Yeah.
And the whole movie, everyone thinks it's a male killer.
Yeah.
And so that's what I thought they were really going to do. And I thought there was a few ways that you could have gone about it that I thought would have made it more interesting. So one is have Elizabeth Bender, the producer, be the killer, which I think she's tall enough.
Yes.
I thought her like she easily could have been the killer.
I honestly like that idea the most,
right?
I think, because it would have been it would have been a huge betrayal to Mia Goth's character, because she looked up to her.
Right.
And she inspired her, and that's like why she wanted to work and be like a student to her at the same time. And I feel like it would have been interesting if they had, because they always kept talking about the star of the previous movie.
The Puritan.
They kept talking about her a lot.
Who was played by Lily Collins.
Yes. I thought it would have been interesting if they were saying like, oh yeah, after the Puritan, she like disappeared or something like that. Nobody knew what happened to the previous star after they made the original Puritan. And then now Maxine is coming into the lead role of the Puritan 2, and then now she's putting her through the same process or something.
Or it could have been like my hands were tied or something, or her hands were tied at that point because she was a female director in the 1980s Hollywood and had to keep her position as hard as she could because a lot of people in her field don't make it to where she has. So she's like, well, now I got to kill you. Or this. So having the producer be the killer, I think, is an idea that they could have gone with, where I think it would have been very interesting, especially with the betrayal and then the reveal that it is another woman. Or it could have been Lily Collins' character. Now, it's a little less believable of Lily Collins being the character who was the actress in The Puritan, who was eating that blood apple.
Yeah.
Who she was talking to in her trailer, and we saw she got killed in that goofy ass way, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think her being the killer would have also been very interesting, and I'll tell you why in a second. It definitely would have been less believable because of Lily Collins' height and size, stature. Yes. But I think her character would have been very interesting because...
What, like her motivation?
Her motivation, because she is getting... She was a star of The Puritan.
Yeah.
Now Maxine is coming in to be the lead for Puritan 2.
I don't think she was supposed to be the lead. Actually.
Or maybe not the lead.
I think she was, but she was definitely like a co-star.
Yes. And Lily Collins' character said that her role was getting reprised and brought back for the Puritan 2 in a flashback. And one of the motives that you could have given her character is, and you also would have felt betrayal because she said, girls got to look out for each other in this industry.
Yeah.
However, how does she feel about a porn star rising up and taking her fame, taking her shine away in this industry? How does that make people feel?
Stealing some of her thunder.
Yes, that all these other female actresses who have tried to come up the way they have, not doing porn, having to try to go the hard way with their acting talents.
Yeah. Basically, she just hated how she took the easy route and is now in the same position that she is.
Yes.
Or that she was, at least.
Yes. And I think that would have been a very interesting motive.
I think so too.
Yeah.
No, I feel like there was a lot better characters to choose from that we see in this movie to reveal to be the killer because we don't see the dad the whole time. It's like, how are we supposed to feel a connection between
Maxine and
her dad? Yeah, like obviously we know about it, but it's been told to us, or like we haven't actually seen that relationship develop but we have seen her with all these people in this new movie.
Yes, because a lot of the times in the Giallo films, the killer is in your face and you don't even realize it.
Yes,
and that's what you needed for this movie to be able to have that big reveal, that reveal to have a payoff in the end.
God, like even the best friend, like that would have been a good thing. I don't know.
Man.
It's like, I mean, I wouldn't know a motivation for him, but I'm just saying, like anybody that she has been talking to consistently and trusts and, is close to her, that's what makes a killer reveal so meaningful, is because it's the betrayal of somebody.
Yeah.
And she's just totally blind to it.
Yep. And for a movie that is paying homage to the Giallo genre, I don't think there was enough detective mode going on. I don't think there was enough mystery going on. Like, I wanted to see our main character try to put some pieces together.
Yeah. And honestly, I love when they think they've put the pieces together and they're totally wrong.
Yeah. I just don't think there was enough detective work going on.
Honestly, it seemed like she was avoiding the detective work. She was like, I don't give a shit about any of this. I'm just gonna ignore it till it goes away, basically.
And I know we had those two cop characters that were, I guess, doing the detective work for the story. Yeah. But again, there was really no connection to those characters.
Nope, not enough screen time either.
No. So when they died in the end, like I was like, I don't
care about them. Yeah. No, the deaths had no meaning. So yes, there were parts we liked about this.
I feel like there's a lot there.
It had a lot of good aspects. Honestly, you know what it's kind of reminding me of right now?
What?
Like Amazing Spider-Man 2. It had all the right pieces, but you just didn't put them together properly.
It doesn't feel nearly as cohesive as the other movies.
Yes. No, the last two were much more well-rounded stories. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because like literally I think you fix the killer, you fix this movie.
I think so.
Like, and that's what's so unfortunate.
Think so, because if you fix the killer, then you fix the motivation.
Yes.
And
That's it was disappointing to say the least. I was just like, when he revealed himself, I was like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah. Yeah, because we've never seen him before, so
No.
we don't know.
Like,
Because
what?
also,
Yeah.
we've only seen his face on that little ass TV
Yeah.
from X.
He's never been like up in our face or
Right.
even interacting with anybody else that we've seen in the previous movies.
Correct. And I get that it's him because the theme in this whole trilogy is with religion and sinning and
Yeah.
porn and
And here's what also would have been great is like if they did reveal the killer to be somebody that was close to Maxine, they could have used that as like a front. You know what I mean? Like they could have done all these killings as like a facade through the religion. So they keep thinking that this is a religiously motivated killer. It's like, nah, they had their own motivations, but they fucking tricked your ass.
you know what? You brought up the word facade. Wouldn't have that have been a great payoff too? Because in this movie, that producer says, "Isn't it amazing that all of these have you can make this whole block look like a different city when it's just a facade?"
Yep.
Wow. We should write
movies. Fuck.
We should write.
Oh!
And this is no disrespect at all to Ty West because
dude, because it literally like annoys me because like now that we're talking about it, I'm like, they were so close.
They were so close.
They were so close to having like a great trilogy of movies. Oh, that's painful
That is painful.
because they had so many good tools. Oh, that's painful.
And I just would have loved a beautiful ending to this with it being an homage to the giallo genre. I just would have loved that so much. Do you think because X and Pearl were so well received that now
This is just gonna get well received based on those?
not
or-
even that, like, do you think the bigger budget, the bigger stage kind of got to, Ty West, or maybe the studios got a little more involved?
I don't know what it was
Because X and Pearl were very independent.
They were. But I can't say that for sure because the problem lies in the writing and where they wanted the story to go. So it's like, you can't really, unless the studios like specifically said that they want this person to be the killer or something,
Right.
you can't really put that.
But I feel like Ty
on
West
them.
already had made that decision by that point.
Yeah.
He knew who the killer was.
That's
gonna
what
be.
I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like, it just lies in the ending, which was our problem. So I think he just missed the ball, man.
Damn.
Which sucks. And like, again, like no disrespect.
Yeah.
Because he obviously is a very capable filmmaker and
Oh,
a
yeah.
capable writer. And it just didn't land this time.
Damn. I really like the stories that we got cooked up.
Right?
Yeah.
Dude, I was like, as we were talking, I was like literally getting hyped for
man.
myself.
Oh man, that line about a facade too.
Oh.
Ooh. We're cooking.
Fuck.
We're cooking.
Cause like, and especially if it was the director too, like she knows how to create a story and creating the facade and like knowing how to mislead people. I'm like, oh, she was directing life, not the movie.
Yeah. There you have a beautiful homage to the giallo genre. All right.
That's tough, bro.
So, end of the day, I think this movie really just missed the ball. Like we said, great elements to it, great performances. Honestly, interesting characters that just didn't get enough screen time. And sadly, it was a disappointing end to this X trilogy.
And I think the reason why they didn't get enough screen time was just because that third act took a lot of time away from them.
Yeah.
And it was just, because the third act should have included them.
And it was an hour and 40 to begin with. So
Yeah.
I think
Which is a decent runtime for a horror movie.
Right, but it being maybe the final or maybe final installment in this trilogy, maybe it should have been a little longer, maybe like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because like if you're gonna do a mystery thriller type shit, 2 hours might be the sweet spot for that. I know.
Yeah. Keep us titillated for a little longer.
Yeah, because I know the horror movies are tight 90. But for a mystery thriller like this, I think 2 hours is usually more of the sweet spot. Like movies like Blowout, Deep Red, those are around the 2 hour mark. I think Deep Red is like 2 hours and 10 minutes. I just don't think an hour and 40 cut it. Because there was points where I'm like, we coming towards the end?
Yeah.
This doesn't feel.
Yeah.
Because when Maxine, when she grabbed that envelope that had that address where she was going to go to the house, I'm like, are we really entering the final act right now? Like
Yeah.
this is gonna be the end right here.
It did feel very rushed.
It did. All right, well, yeah.
What'd you give it on Letterboxd?
To be honest, I was pretty generous and I gave it 3 stars.
I was hovering around 3.
I gave it 3 stars. I don't think I could go any higher though, just because of how many issues I had.
Agreed. And I think 3 stars is mainly due to just like Mia Goth's performance.
Yeah.
And
the aesthetics.
And the aesthetics and like the relationships between her close friends in the movie.
Yeah. Because I'm seeing the popular rating on Letterboxd right now be 2.5, 2 stars.
Which is 2.5. I would like objectively, I think 2.5 is fair.
I just don't want to give that. You know what I mean? Like it's just part of me that doesn't want to succumb to that.
It leaves a sour taste in your mouth, especially when the first 2 were so good.
Because it honestly, like to Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, it's not getting terrible reviews. Like it has the 75% critically and 84% from the audience and a 7.1 on IMDb.
Yeah.
Those aren't bad ratings.
No.
But I think the people who are fans of the X trilogy and are on Letterboxd are giving it the more fair rating.
Agreed. I think it's not that it's a bad movie. It was just disappointing to people who have been following this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that just describes it the best, is disappointing.
Yeah.
And I mean, shit, it could have been.
Dude, we just gave so many good ideas. Honestly, I was like, holy fuck, are we cooking right now? When we were coming up.
No, I know, because I didn't text you this, but I was texting those ideas to Berto when you got home later afterwards, because I didn't want to make another group chat and I didn't want to text this in Bose as well. So I was just texting Berto like these plot lines that I had in my mind. I'm like, fuck, man. This could have been, the X trilogy could have been the best horror trilogy in my opinion if Maxine finished off strong, but it was just disappointing. Because some of the other horror trilogies you had are Scream, which a lot of people aren't a fan of the third Scream movie. I know I am. I'll be a Scream 3 defender. But a lot of people would say Scream 3 might be the weakest of the franchise, but Scream Trilogy was good. The Evil Dead Trilogy, Fear Street Trilogy, which I think is actually kind of an underrated horror trilogy.
Halloween,
but it's like, what do you include for Halloween? Do you do Halloween 1, 2, and 3, or do you do Halloween 1, 2, and 4? Since that's the continuous storyline.
Dude, you do Halloween 1, 2, 3.
I like 1, 2, and 3 because
I know because you like 3.
Yeah, because I think that's the better trilogy right there. Yeah. Even though it's not part of that trilogy, since they were trying to be an anthology series. Alien, The Conjuring.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen the third one though.
I don't know if I have either.
So this really, really did have a chance to be the best horror trilogy in my eyes, if it lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
But, however, I don't think that was the case. It was disappointing, and
I'm sad.
I'm sad because this was my most anticipated movie. But I do have hope for Nosferatu.
Yeah, I was about to say you still got that.
I really do have hope for Nosferatu. I think Robert Eggers, that trailer looked phenomenal. It's not any a part of like a trilogy or anything, so I think we should be okay.
Yeah, it's all right, man. We'll get them next time. But yeah, definitely a disappointing finish. But what are you gonna do? It's unfortunate.
Yeah. So that's our review on Maxine. Definitely go see it. Give it a chance yourself. If you're a fan of horror, I think there's definitely elements in it that you'll appreciate. If you're a horror fan, go for Mia Goth if you'd like, because she's always amazing. But in the end, in our eyes, a disappointing finish to the X trilogy.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for this Maxine review. How do I wrap it up now?
I don't know.
That's it for this Maxine review. I'm Blake.
And I'm Garrett.
And this is Duck Takes. No. How do we finish it?
I don't know, man.
I'm Blake.
I mean, do we want to say our names every time?
We can now. We kind of have to now.
Yeah, because they're going to be like, who the fuck are you guys?
Yeah. That's going to do it for this Maxine review. I'm Blake. As always, with me, my co-host, Garrett. And we'll see you next time on Duck Takes.
See you guys.